Hi, I'm Greg Page, the original Yellow Wiggle, and I'm extremely privileged to be here with some people who are very significant in my life. 1 year ago today, I had a sudden cardiac arrest, and these marvellous three people are some of the people who responded to my sudden cardiac arrest. They knew exactly what to do, and they gave me the best chance of surviving, which I'm just so grateful for. I'd like you to meet Steve Pace.
Hey.
Therese Wales and Kimmy Antonelli.
Hello.
And this is kind of the first time that we've gotten together to really chat about what happened, isn't it?
True.
You know, and a lot of people have heard me talk about what happened, and they know kind of some of the things I've done since then. But one of the things I'm really passionate about, obviously, since surviving a cardiac arrest, is to really promote the fact that people, just general everyday people going about what they're doing, can step up and save a life. And you know, it's not always easy, but it can be done, and you guys are just living examples of that. And I just wanted to, you know, hear a bit about your story on the night of what you did and how you saved a life so that other people can learn. So I don't know where we start. I mean, I guess for me it starts when I collapsed and I didn't really know what was going on. I'd just done a 1 hour and 20-minute show, and I thought I was just exhausted from the show. I collapsed. I can remember lying on the stage, and it wouldn't be common for me to be that exhausted after a show, but then again, it wouldn't be unusual for me to be lying on the floor and sucking in deep breaths and thinking, gosh, I'm out of shape. And I thought that's all it was. And then I guess I just don't remember anything after that.
Not to add, though, that you were, you know, giving it 110% in the show. Like, there was no sluggish about Greg whatsoever. You know, everybody really.
Well, look, I love doing shows. I love doing the Wiggles shows, and I've always found it a challenge because it is physically demanding. And so I guess in the lead up to doing the show, I was trying to make sure I was match fit. You know, I was going for my walks, doing the gym work, making sure that I push myself harder on the walks, because I know that when you're singing and dancing, it takes that little bit more cardio. So I was trying to work through all that. So I thought I was good, but
we commented so many times, look at Greg, how much energy has he got? He's so energetic. Jumping and
but you know what? When I did go back, I haven't watched the whole show. I don't remember much about the show. I've gone back and I've watched little bits of it, and I think, gosh, I'm lethargic.
Oh, no.
When I look at that compared to
Nobody
older
thought
videos, I think, you know, I looked a little bit like I was out of shape. But I think perhaps it was something else going on that I wasn't aware of at the time. Perhaps, I don't know.
No, we couldn't keep up with you. We were trying to keep up in the audience, but you were far more energetic.
You were smiling and being so happy, but I do remember that you were sweating, you know, obviously profusely, but you looked so happy. You know, that's why it was a bit of a shock with what had happened, you know. But if you had gone down like that, because you wouldn't have thought that.
Yeah, we should just fill everybody in. You were drumming on that night. You're the drummer with the Wiggles, right? So you're on the drums. You've just done a 1 hour, 20-minute set on the drums, right? So you would have been pretty exhausted and hot too.
Absolutely, you know, it was 800 people, full, you know, it was chock-a-block there, and they were having such an amazing time, and we were giving it our all, obviously.
Well, we love it too, you know, we enjoy performing, and we love it. And I particularly love those reunion gigs, because all the kids that grew up with the Wiggles get to relive their childhood, and I think that's a really powerful thing. I think it connects people to a time in their life where hopefully things were better. It brings back those connections to that time, and the music of the Wiggles is just great fun. And so for me, that's one thing I love.
Hearing grown-ups,
and watching them,
and, you know,
it's like they're reliving their childhood. They're back to being 3 or 4 years old again. Now, Therese, you're a GP. Yep. So now we have just chatted a little bit about this before. I think, Kimmy, you were up on the stage first because Luke got a call over the radio.
Yeah, Luke called. I was outside the actual venue itself in the merch stand. And Luke called over the radio, Kimmy, Greg's down, you know, please come, you know. And so, no, but Therese was actually there.
Oh, Therese, you were there first?
Yes, she was there before I got there.
I thought you were.
No, no, you were there before. Because that's how we communicated. Yes, because you were on your side. That's right. And then I checked. Right. I remember I could tell straight away by the colour of your skin. And a bluey, purple, grey,
Very clammy.
very clammy, and I could tell by your tongue. Your tongue,
Right.
to me, was quite swollen.
Okay.
You'd vomited a little bit, and
Yep.
then so I said to Therese, "No, we need to start CPR now."
Look,
Yeah.
sorry if people, I hope nobody's offended by the details you're getting here. It's not for any other reason than to raise awareness about what to do when somebody's in a situation, because early identification of when somebody needs CPR is so important. So as soon as you can identify that somebody needs emergency help, call 000. And, identification of that situation is so important. So Kimmy and Therese were up there. They'd seen that I needed CPR, and we don't really know who called 000, do we? I think there are a few people calling 000.
Yeah, really not sure exactly
Yeah.
who that was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
000 were on the way, and you guys had started the
We
CPR.
started that, and mouth to mouth.
And mouth to mouth.
At that stage, we shared.
You
the
poor
swapping.
people.
We were swapping.
Yeah.
Yes,
Swapping over.
we were swapping a bit of body fluids.
Yeah.
And then, oblivious to Therese and I, the show was still going ahead.
Yeah, right.
Which
Steve
we
was still on the drums.
still on the
Yeah.
drums.
No
We didn't
idea.
even know that there was a song playing. We were tunnel vision, just working on you. And then my next memory was Steve coming over and in my ear, his beautiful voice saying, "Kimmy, do you want me to help? Do you want me to take over?" And it was like, "Yes, please." Yeah. And I can remember Steve doing his first compression and your chest just going, like just being sunken in just with his sheer
The
strength.
pressure, Yeah, well, they say you've got to
Yeah.
push, to a third of the depth of
Yeah.
somebody's chest. So
Yeah.
it's a fair push, isn't it?
Yeah, and
Yeah.
a lot of people, again, bringing awareness to certain situations. It's not to be scared to do it and to
No,
depress. A lot of
no.
people get scared that they're going to, break a rib or they're going to really make the situation worse. You're not.
No.
And look, a rib may break in the process, and that's understandable. You're not going to kill that person or make them worse. It's
Well,
like
in
you were
fact,
saying,
that's a good point. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, when somebody's not breathing and not responding, it
Yes.
doesn't get worse than
Yeah,
that, does it?
exactly.
There's no
That's
such thing as
exactly.
worse than that.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
Have a go.
There's
any,
nothing worse than doing nothing at all. That's like
That's it. There is no right and wrong.
yeah, the
yeah.
right
Just-
thing to do
yeah.
is just go for it, because any attempt at resuscitation is better than none.
That's
And
exactly it.
look, I don't know what the laws are like all over the world, but I really think the laws have to change. If there is any law
Yeah.
that allows someone to be prosecuted for having a go at saving somebody's
That's
life,
right, absolutely.
in that case,
yes.
it
Yeah,
needs to
absolutely.
change, because
Yes.
I know that in certain, well, I don't know for sure, so don't take me as verbatim on this, but I'm pretty confident that throughout much of Australia, if not all of Australia,
Right.
there's a Good Samaritan law that says that you should step in and do something, because saving a life is more important than breaking a rib,
That's right.
basically.
Yes.
And when they're in that position, that you cannot make them worse.
That's right.
They will only die,
No.
and that is
That's
the worst thing.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it sounds trite or cliche, but I am living proof that it can save lives. So please, 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 let's save lives. Do what these folks have done. And I just feel so strongly about it, obviously.
Yes.
But I'm really glad to be hearing your story about what happened. So we don't know how long I was out for, really, do we? But you say it felt like a long time. I mean,
Oh, it did feel like a long time.
Sure
Felt like
did.
a very long time.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I guess when you're doing CPR, it's hard
It's
work, isn't it?
exhausting.
Yeah.
Exhausting.
It's
So
all focused to the job at hand, and it's like we hear different stories of who was around and this and that, but we were just also
Who was
focused
observing?
on
Yeah. But really, to me, it was us three.
It was us
Yeah.
three.
We
That's
Just-
what I remember.
That's all I
Yeah.
remember.
Yeah.
Just here, focusing on our voices.
Yep.
And doing.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, exactly.
great teamwork.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Amazing.
It was an amazing team effort, and
Yeah.
we've said that all along. It's
Yeah.
it's just if we just all banded together to as one and made it work. and
Yeah.
it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
Mm.
And we were, I was nervous. I was anxious. My adrenaline levels were high. But if I can say to people, don't just have a go. Just
Yeah.
do it.
Yes. Yeah.
You don't have to be a GP, by the way.
No,
Just
that's
be-
really
just be
yes, that's
anybody.
Greg's
That's right.
message.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Go in and have a go.
Yeah.
You will
Glad you brought that
help more than
Yeah.
you will damage.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's true.
that's
is so
right.
true.
And I think
Yeah.
too that we have to acknowledge that different people do respond differently in situations like that. I mean, somebody's life is in the balance,
Yeah.
and it could be a
Yeah.
very, very stressful thing. I can only imagine, how I would have been in that situation, and not having done any CPR training before that at all, I would have freaked out. I would have thought, man, I shouldn't do anything because I don't know what I'm doing. But now I know. I've learned a lot in a year, and I know there's so many things that are kind of misperceptions that people might have. But it doesn't mean that at the time it's not going to be confronting. It's not going to be pleasant, is it? We're talking about vomit and everything. It's pretty awful. But the main thing is that it can save a life.
It does. And I think we were calm.
Yeah.
We just focused.
Well.
It did work well. There was no yelling and screaming.
No.
You know, we just focused on that task.
Right.
Yeah.
That was
So I'll just go back and recap. Therese, you were at the show with your daughters, right?
That's
you were here. You weren't here to save a life.
No, I was really enjoying myself.
Yes, I'm sorry to put a damper on things, but we are here at Castle Hill RSL. Actually, we've just had a wonderful lunch, and it's just an acknowledgement of the day and the contribution that you guys made to a life. And you were here with your daughters. They grew up as Wiggles fans.
Absolute fans, Greg Wiggle fans.
Oh, I thought, was it you that was wearing red though? You're a Murray fan, yeah? You were wearing red.
I
on the
was
night,
actually an Anthony fan.
Oh, okay. You should have been wearing. Well, you're wearing blue today. That's right. Don't worry. There's no.
Lauren was the biggest Greg fan.
Right.
Of all.
Okay. And now, who saw me go down?
Well, Lauren's very tall,
Right.
so she said to me, "Mum, Greg has collapsed. You've got to get up there." Okay, right, I will.
So you just sprang into action, and you found a way to get up onto the stage and started doing what you needed to do. Wow.
Yes.
And should also acknowledge Grace Jones, who isn't here today. Now, Grace is a nurse. She's actually a cardiac nurse, I believe, the same as my wife, Vanessa, is a cardiac nurse. And now Grace joined you guys sort of right at the end there when the defibrillator was delivered by, I think, security brought the defibrillator up, maybe?
Yes, I think that's
so
right.
as the defibrillator was brought in, Grace, who is a nurse, arrived on the scene. So that means we had two sort of medically trained people there, and a lot of focus has been put on Grace as being the nurse who saved my life, and that's amazing, that's terrific. But I do want to make the point that you don't have to be medically trained to save a life. I think it makes a good story, and it's certainly not diminishing Grace's part in this story by any means. But what we need to do is we want to empower everybody out there to feel that they have the skills and the confidence to try and save a life if they need to. So whilst we did have Therese, a GP, and Grace, who was a nurse, that's fantastic. We don't care who you are. You could be a mechanic, you could be a mum, you could be a dad, you could be an accountant. It doesn't matter. Anybody can do it, because CPR is something you can do without having to be trained or qualified in how to do it. The same as in using a defibrillator, right?
Yep.
And in fact, Grace, being a cardiac nurse, works in a hospital where they have different defibrillators. And this machine that she was delivered on the night looked quite different, by her own admission, to anything she'd ever used before. So she'd never used one of these before. I don't think any of you guys had used one before. So nobody knew what to do. And tell us what happened.
Well, we opened the box, and there were two pads together, and it was a case of, right, we have to separate those pads, pop them on the chest, and basically you press the machine on, it tells you what to do. Right. It's as simple as that. It picks up the rhythm. If there's no rhythm, it tells everyone to stand back, press the button to shock the patient. It's easy, and everyone can do it. You don't have to be medically trained.
You don't have to have any experience with the device either, do you?
No experience whatsoever. It tells you exactly what to do. It's very straightforward.
It's
very
incredible.
simple.
And also, there was a lot of people around, and we could still hear what it was saying.
Wow,
Yes.
So they're
Which I
loud.
feel
They're loud.
That's right.
And
there's a tempo as well.
Yep.
And
so you can do the CPR in tempo to the machine.
That's right.
You don't have to sing that,
You don't have to sing Stay Alive. That's right. Oh my gosh.
If you want to, you can.
Well, it probably is a good thing, isn't it? Have it in mind when you're doing it. But I guess the other thing that I do want to say is that regarding defibrillators, there's something I was never aware of them really beforehand. Of course, as soon as I woke up in hospital, people were telling me, you were saved because of a defibrillator and CPR, and it was like, oh wow, okay. So I started looking into it. Anyway, what I want to say is that if you do have an AED or automated external defibrillator, and I love using that term, AED, because the automated part tells us a lot about it. It is automated. It tells you what to do. You don't have to think. But it's important that people on your staff or anybody knows where your AED is, because time is of the essence in cardiac arrest, right? For every minute that passes without CPR and defibrillation, the patient's chance of survival decreases by about 10%. And there's a lot of technical stuff behind that, but basically my heart was in what they call a shockable rhythm. If that shockable rhythm, called ventricular fibrillation, goes on for too long, it can turn into asystole. Is that right, Therese? Yep. So if VF goes on too long, it becomes asystole, and an AED will not shock an asystolic rhythm successfully. So time is of the essence, because a lot of cardiac arrests are that VF or VT rhythm, and they're both shockable rhythms. So the quicker you get that AED on that patient, the more chance there is of them surviving. So knowing where it is, knowing how to access it quickly is so important. Thank God Castle Hill RSL had an AED here that night, because it did its magic and it reverted my rhythm. And you were saying before that you heard it say shockable rhythm. What did you hear it say?
It told us to stand back. Shockable rhythm, press the button. It's that simple.
And then continue.
And then continue CPR.
So the AED reads the rhythm and says shockable rhythm, continue try the shock, then continue CPR if the rhythm isn't reverted to a normal heart rhythm. Is that right?
That's correct.
Yeah. It's very technical on the back end. Now this is the other thing. We didn't talk about this before, so I'm springing this on you. I hadn't seen Luke Field after my event for some time. Ran into him at the shops, and I just thanked him because I knew that he was on the radio to use straight away. And it was funny, he said it felt like it was half an hour before the ambulance got there. It must have been a long time. But he also recounted this to me, and I don't know if you guys remember this, but he thinks that somebody spilt a bucket of ice water all over me.
I think that, yes, I think
so.
Was
it an accident, or were they trying to revive me with it?
No, I think it was an accident.
Oh, right.
I think that's why Tyra ran across the stage with actually.
Oh, that was early on.
Yes, that was early on.
That was like straight away, more or less.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it was Luke then later who sliced my shirt open to get the AED.
Yes, Luke was the one. Yeah, and then we wiped you down. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So there were a lot
ready. We were ready for the AED to come.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. And there's a number of people in this story really who aren't here. Tyra, Luke.
Yes.
And a number of people. Jack Baldwin, from the fire service,
which was great because he was overseeing us, and with his vast experience, which was great because at the end he said, "I didn't have to do anything. You guys did exactly what was needed."
Yeah, that was wonderful to hear that from him.
It was,
wasn't it? Was so reassuring, thinking he's this pro.
Yes, exactly.
Well, and he could have stepped in to help as well. And can I just say too, my parents, as you know, were up on the stage. They went up, fairly early on, and talking to Dad in particular, of course, it was very distressing for him seeing what was going on, but he had such confidence that I was going to be okay because he looked across and saw how well you were doing the CPR, and he just was like, Greg's in good hands. So just want you all to know that. I can't imagine what it must have been like for them to be there, or for anybody for that matter. I know that there are a number of people on the side of the stage there who would have seen what was going on, and it must have been very difficult. I know Anthony had a tough time seeing what happened, and he came and saw me in hospital the next day, and he was still not in a very good way, but it affects people differently, and I think if you can, if you're the type of person that feels you can make a difference and want to make a difference, then you will make a difference.
Yes, that's true.
Yeah,
that's true.
So I don't know. Is there anything else you guys want to say?
Just have a go.
Have a go?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And I think just quickly,
you can't go wrong.
Because we had briefly talked about it before. If would you react the same way if it was a woman as opposed to a man?
Yes.
And the thing is, no, we would do exactly the same thing. But a lot of people get scared to a man, I suppose, to approach a woman to do CPR. you know, just go for it. And I think we should just touch on that.
Yeah.
I think you should certainly, you go for it. You do whatever you can to save a life.
Yeah, that's right.
And it's an hour of your time to learn. So
And look,
an hour of your time to save a life.
So having said that, you know, you don't need to be trained or qualified to do it. You don't.
No.
But if you want to get skilled up in it, then please do, because having that confidence and knowing, like you say, I mean, you've done the course, right?
Yes.
So you know. Of course, as a woman, when you're conscious, you might think, oh my gosh, I don't want people, you know, cutting my shirt open to put an AED on or whatever. But if it's a difference between life and death, I think that's a very different factor. So you've got your conscious thought. I mean, look, looking back on things, now I'm conscious, I've lived through it, I've survived. I don't like hearing that I was vomiting up all over you guys. I don't. I hate that.
Loved it.
I absolutely hate hearing that. But, you know, but the embarrassment just isn't really there. You know what I mean? Like if I was conscious at the time and knowing that I was doing it, I would have felt embarrassed. But, you know, had I not been in that position and you guys there, I would not be here now. So, you know, when you live through it,
we didn't hesitate.
No.
You guys are amazing.
And not only surviving, Greg, you are thriving.
Yeah,
that's
healthier than ever.
It's such a positive outcome.
It is,
And we want more of those. We want more of those positive outcomes. So it's everything. I mean, the chain of survival is much more than just calling 000, doing CPR and AED, getting there. It's also the emergency care that comes. It's the intervention procedures that happen in the hospital care, and the rehab. And I've been the beneficiary of great care the whole way through that process. I really have. And I'm just such an advocate for that now. And if people want to find out more about what I'm doing, go to heartofthenation.com.au. There's a lot of information there about what I'm starting to do. I've got some big plans for this year. And because of what's happened, and thanks to these guys and other people that were there on the night, I live to tell many more tales. And I just wanted to make sure that everybody was aware of the story, to give you the confidence to have a go at saving a life if you need to. And I wanted you to meet these 3 wonderful responders who you may not have seen before. So thank you for watching, and thank you.
It's okay. We have this wonderful bond now.
We do. It's great. Thank you.